Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Wednesday, April the 4th, and welcome to our video commentary. I have a post over at the American Thinker on Wednesday morning talking about or linking to a brand new poll that came out from Mammoth University. This is, they do from time to time do polling on the American news media. And I'm telling you, the results of this poll are not very good news for the American news media. If I was a journalist, if I was a news director, let's say, if I owned a newspaper or whatever, I would be very concerned about what this poll is saying. And by the way, this is not just an isolated poll. Other polls by different organizations have also confirmed that a lot of the American people do not believe the media at the moment. In this particular poll, a majority of Americans believe that what is being passed on as news is really actually fake news, or meaning news that may be somewhat true, but has a political agenda behind it. And I think this is devastating, I really do, for the American news media. And certainly if I was a news director, I would talk with my people, my reporters, and say, hey, we've got to do something to improve our image because the American people are not believing what we're writing. Now, this obviously didn't just happen at once. I mean, this has been building up for quite some time. But I think there's, in my American Thinker post, I talk about three things. I'm not saying that these are the only three things, but three things that I believe have contributed to this lack of credibility. The first one is the way that President Obama was treated during his eight years as president, when I think a lot of the American news media basically went to sleep on President Obama. And President Obama was basically allowed to say a lot of things, to do a lot of things, and there just wasn't a desire for accountability on the part of the media. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. The IRS, when there were allegations that the IRS was being used to go after conservative groups, that should have been a huge investigation by the media. There should have been a lot of interest to investigate how that happened. There really wasn't. And you have Benghazi, Fast and Furious, Obamacare. I mean, that in itself, the promises of Obamacare, most of them were not just fell short, but fell very short of delivering on what was promised. The media never really went after President Obama on all of that. And I think they created the sensation that there was a double standard for President Obama, that he was going to be treated one way, then other presidents were going to be treated the other way. Now, in the case of President Trump, they've gone to the other extreme, where everything is an investigation, everything is a scandal. And I think these two extremes have hurt the media a great deal. In other words, giving Obama a pass and going after Trump where everything is a scandal. I think this has created quite a problem for the media. I also think that all of these stories based on leaks and information, anonymous sources. Look, I understand. I have friends of mine in the media, and there are times when you have to use an anonymous source, particularly if you're investigating corruption or something like that. People need to speak to you off the record, if you will, or they have to speak to you without using their names. I get that. I understand that. But we're now at a point where every story, every day, every story is based on anonymous information. And the irony of it is that much of it has turned out to be untrue. All the stories about the Mueller investigation that we've been hearing for a year, has any of that ever turned out to be true? Not really. So you kind of get the feeling that the people leaking the information to the media are not really interested in the truth or the news. They're more interested in promoting an agenda, in this particular case, an anti-Trump agenda. And I think that has really hurt the media. It's gotten to the point that anytime you see a story, let's say an anonymous source type story, your first reaction is not to believe it. Your first reaction is to say, well, what's the political agenda of this? And I think that's how a lot of people are reacting, and why it's becoming more and more difficult for the media to have any credibility. So, when you get bad news, you have to deal with it. You can't just write it off. And I think that, this poll presents the American news media with some very bad news, but I do think there's an opportunity here for a news organization to say, you know what, we understand how the people feel, so we're going to give it to you straight. We're not going to use anonymous sources unless there's a very specific reason. We're going to be straight. We're going to give it to you fair and balanced, as one organization likes to say. And we're not going to be pro-Trump. We're not going to be anti-Trump. We're just going to give it to you straight. I think that organization will find itself in a, let's just say, in a better position than what we see the news media today. The people are not believing what they read or what they hear. And when you consider that the most important currency of the media is credibility, this is not good news for the people who bring us the news. Thank you for watching. We have all of these commentaries over at YouTube. We have them on Twitter, and we also have them on my blog. Great day, everybody. Happy spring. Spring in Texas. Happy spring to all of you, wherever you are. Bye-bye.